And now, the Tempest Universe.
Welcome to another episode of Tempest Universe. I know you guys are trying to get rid of me. I'm not going away that easily. I got something on the screen, but I just want to say for you guys listening on audio, thank you very much for returning to the Tempest Universe. And actually, I saw something interesting. There were a few people that are listening on a Victor Reader. Thank you so much. And if you don't know, Victor Reader is an audio device for the blind. And I appreciate you guys for listening because you've taken that extra step to listen to someone that's completely nutso. I actually went on to all those audio only platforms like Castbox and Spotify and all those guys. By the way, they're listed in the show description in case you're not listening to those and you feel like you can't do video all the time because of my mug. You can go there to one of those platforms and listen while you work and whistle and do all that good stuff. One of the main complaints was that I cursed too much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, on the screen, which let me expand this for you, that way you see why I curse so much, is this particular situation here. Okay, let me just, it might be a little too small on YouTube, but let me just read it. So there was a podcast episode of Weaponized, which I was on there live, and I got a couple of acknowledgments from Jeremy Corbell. And actually, after that, he went onto my X account, and actually, I got a couple of likes from him there too. But that's not what this is about. This is not why I say that I cuss a lot on these episodes. But according to this, the guest at that episode was James Fox, right? So you know James Fox has a big thing coming on related to the Virginia case in Brazil, which we talked about, I believe it was last episode. But he's got this big thing happening at the National Press Club next week, right on the 20th. And one of the main topics, the very first one he's going to dive into head first, is the folks from Virginia. Like he literally took these guys to come into a different country, kind of like he did, and tell their story about the case. Because, listen, the guy feels like this is a legitimate deal. And like I said, if they can get just one more aspect of this to come full circle, either like a U.S. Air Force person to come forward, or even the video, the alleged video or pictures of this alien beanerator, if they can get one of those for this case, that is it. Lock this puppy up. Not only are things undeniable, it's no longer unknown. You've got everything here, every aspect of the case you would need to say that this is the most well-documented and the most pivotal case in the history of the phenomena. UFOs, for those of you who are old school. UAPs, for all you newbies. Anyway, on the screen, let me get back to this, okay? Because I got it on the screen forever. On the screen, basically, James kind of let the folks know that 8 of the visas for the folks in Virginia, the witnesses, 8 of them, were denied. They're not going to be able to enter the United States. Now, of course, this post is directed towards Tim Burchett, Anna Polina, and Eric Burleson, to ask them to go to the State Department and say, why in the world would you not approve these? As you know, these are the folks that are in Congress. They keep having the hearings trying to figure out what the hell is going on. But the question is, what the hell is going on? Here we are. Are these guys terrorists? Looks like, again, if you watch Moment of Contact, which I know I said in the last episode, Moment of Disclosure. Sorry, I've got Age of Disclosure on my head and Moment of Contact also. But if you look at this documentary, these guys do not look like terrorists. They don't look like folks you need to keep out. And if you, guess what? This is an important topic, whether you like to believe it or not, State Department. I mean, have a bunch of guards. Have them followed around by armed guard if you need to. But this is the real deal. You're going to have these folks in here giving their perspective of what happened, telling the story, as they recall it, why would they be denied access? It makes no sense. This is what we're dealing with. So yeah, sometimes I will curse a bit. Sometimes I just gotta let it flow. But consciously I'm trying not to. But in situations like this, when you know that the guy is just trying to make some progress, and he knows, he's like a dog with a bone. He knows there's something here. And what they do? They stop the witnesses from coming to the U.S. to testify. What in the hell is going on? This is where I drop a few F-bombs, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I want you guys to be able to listen and not get your feelings hurt. I don't want your booty hole to pucker up every time you hear an F-bomb. I don't want that to happen. I want you guys to enjoy the podcast. Anyway, we have a great topic for today, and I've been meaning to do this for a while because the topic is, for me, besides the situation with Virginia, besides Brazil, besides the incredible work of James Fox, there is something going on right now that by and large is being ignored. Here's another scientific finding, a scientific finding that should be the front page of every newspaper, that should be on every news station nationally and even throughout the world. Put this in different languages if you need to. Yeah, that's how important this is. This, by and large, proves something is not right. Something is being hidden from us. But we're going to take a trip down memory lane, if you will, because it's important. I think what happens is that a lot of people see the headlines. They don't stick it where it needs to be. They don't put this in the right time frame, the right reference to understand why is this so important. But we're going to go in a Wayback Machine right now. We are. Let me pull up some info for y'all. That way you can see. You can see some of the goodies that I have here. This situation goes all the way back to the days of Sputnik. That's right. I know Putin right now, if he's listening, he's really proud. October 4th, 1957, the Soviet Union, they launched a beach ball size satellite. Where did they launch it to? Into space, of course. Look at the nice little images I have for you on the screen. Sputnik, and this is a sentence that really should mean a lot to you. Sputnik was the first thing that humans ever successfully sent into space. Let me put down this image here. Look at me. Look at me. For the first time ever, Sputnik, a man-made item, was launched into space. And not just into space, into orbit around the planet. What did it do? It sent a bunch of beeps. Every 98 minutes, it would do a full rotation around the planet and send beeps. It was just sending beeps. First object, what else did we do? I mean, what else could you do? 22 days this went on for. I'm sure after day 3, people were just sick of the damn beeps. But I digress, because what's important here is that you also keep in mind the date, October 4th, 1957. Now that beautiful little machine that you have there on your screen, for those of you who are on YouTube, it was tiny. It wasn't very big. But after that 184-pound object was launched into space, on November 4th, 1957, the second object ever launched into space by humans. Let's forget about the whole Russia thing. Let's just say humans. Sputnik 2 was launched into space, weighing a little over 1,000 pounds. On the right side of your screen is Explorer 1. February 1958, the U.S. sent up this satellite, which is actually smaller than Sputnik 1. Of course, nobody really remembers Explorer 1, right? Because we were all like amazed by Sputnik 1. All of this went down in 1957. That is just amazing. It's beautiful. You can't even deny that that was an amazing accomplishment. Yes, it went to the Russians, but you know, I mean, it is what it is. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Now, something that was happening around the world, which was interesting, right? We have a long history, as far as humans do, at looking to the skies. We look into the skies to figure out where our place is. Where is it that we belong? Where do we come from? As science, kind of got their stuff together, before the digital age, before there were like fancy digital sensors and camera sensors and all that good stuff, astronomers would use photographic plates. These plates were either made by glass or metal, and they were coated with something that was light sensitive. And these would take like a long exposure of the sky and record it on these plates. If you look at the screen, that's an example of a plate. This particular plate was from the Lowell Observatory. It was taken in January of 1930. This is the one that actually was finally given the credit of locating Pluto, which is now a dwarf planet, but it was a big Pluto back then. This is how people back in the day would search the skies and try to make some kind of inference as to what's out there. And basically, these photographic plates would be taken in between two different time frames and compared. If one of those little dots is missing or you find it somewhere else, guess what? It's not just a regular star. It's something that's moving. This is how we found Pluto. Way back when? 1930. So if someone was taking photographic plates in the time when Sputnik was launched, guess what? It would show up. A moving dot. In 1957, throwing beeps at the planet. It's fantastic. I mean, look, as humans, we can put some stuff down. Like who thinks about stuff like this? I never would have thought of it. That's just amazing that they were able to do that. Now, to continue with our story here, we have Sputnik, the first item thrown into space. Sorry, I had to pause a little bit there. I got an itch in my throat. Then we have the fact that we use a technique in modern science using these plates to find things in space that we didn't know about, using kind of long exposure, compare different times to see if something's changed. Well, lo and behold, enter the man. When it comes to photographic plates, this guy right here, let me tell you something. This guy is the one that we should question. Of course, he's passed, but his name is Dr. Donald Menzel. Dr. Menzel was a lieutenant commander in the United States Navy during World War II. During his time there, he was asked to be the head of a division of intelligence. Everybody loves intelligence. It's fantastic. He was a talented guy. He got recognition for that. He was especially talented in deciphering enemy codes. He was a very well studied man, lots of degrees. After the war, Dr. Menzel was appointed acting director of the Harvard University Observatory. That was in 1952. Later on, between 54 and 66, he became the full director. Like, don't screw with him. He's running the show. Unfortunately, something occurred during that time, something known as the Menzel Gap. Story goes that Dr. Menzel asked his secretary to destroy a third of the plates without anyone looking at them. No one could examine them or, study them. A third of the plates. The time frame of these plates was from 1953 to 1968. Literally, all these astronomical photographic plates were bye-bye. He actually halted the operations of making these plates. So no one was allowed at the observatory at Harvard to look at space. Is this wild? Like, how could you do that? Well, I guess he was running the show, right? Nobody screws with Menzel. He came in and said, hey, this stuff's got to go. And he did. He got rid of it. Then we have the question is, why? Why did Menzel decide that these plates have to, disappear? Now, it turns out Dr. Menzel was a bit of a skeptic when it comes to UFOs. He authored and co-authored some books. I got a list of them here. The Flying Saucer Myth, Truth, History. That was Dr. Menzel. He co-authored The World of Flying Saucers. And then he co-authored The UFO Enigma. Wowzers. What's going on here? He's getting rid of potentially something prior to anything being in space made by humans from being photographed. In 1968, he actually testified before the U.S. House Committee on Science and Astronautics. Basically, he stated that he considered the UFO sightings were of a natural explanation. That's interesting. Now, besides holding a lot of clearances, it was rumored that he was part of the Majestic 12. Go figure. Like, why not hide one of the ways to find the one best secret ever in the history of humanity, UFOs. So now, it was rumored, so it is what it is. I'm sure a lot of people out there will say that it was a fact that he was part of the Majestic 12, and it was his duty to go back and get rid of those plates, because I'm sure somewhere, somehow, somebody figured out that those plates included data related to UFOs. I mean, listen, let's be honest. I mean, the guy was probably just doing his job, whatever. And his job was probably to get rid of evidence and then publicly deny UFOs. It's a natural thing. It's swamp gas. Maybe that's what it all is. It's a crazy situation. But this is the way things work. This is the way of the world. Now we're going to fast forward. We're going to fast forward to an astronomer by the name of Dr. Beatrice Villarreal. And listen, let me tell you, this work that she's completing is by and large, how can I say, being ignored. Ignored. I mean, when you have something like these photographic plates, you know, that lead to the discovery of something like Pluto. Now, Pluto, how far is Pluto? I would go as far as to say 4.2 far, way too far. But if we're able to use these photographic plates to identify a dwarf planet towards the edge of our solar system, come on. These things are pivotal. They were amazing. They did great work. On the screen, you'll see an image of one of those plates, right? Now, in the studies conducted by Dr. Villarroel, she has found over 100,000 light reflecting objects on plates that were taken by the Palomar Observatory between 1947 and 1957. Ladies and gentlemen, again, 1947 and 1957. This is pre-Sputnik, meaning the first object going into space hadn't even made it yet. It wasn't in space. It was just a thought in someone's twinkling eye in Russia somewhere, no less. These light reflecting objects, from what they can assume, might have been metallic. And not exactly tiny either. We're not talking, SpaceX satellite tiny. These must have been a good size to be caught by these photographic plates. In her paper, these are written down as being light reflecting objects, not comets, not asteroids, and definitely, for the love of Pete, please, not satellites. If anyone says they were satellites, they're mistaken. There wasn't even a damn satellite yet. Now, one of the first things that they did was also try to find correlations. Like, what could have caused these things? What was in the sky? These shiny things, which at the time, if you know your history of ufology, a lot of people were reporting metallic saucers in our skies. Those are pretty reflective. They're pretty shiny. According to her publication in the Astronomical Society of the Pacific, they did digital scans of the original photographic glass plates. They determined that these transients, these shiny objects, that their appearances on the plates increased around the time of nuclear tests and reported UFO sightings by regular folks like you and I. Isn't that wild? It's crazy. The photographic plate image that I have on the screen right now with those 3 dots was actually one that occurred close to the July 1952 UFO flap over DC. There was a swarm of UFOs reported over several days in July of 1952, prior to there being any satellite in space. It was so serious that jets were sent out to intercept these unknown objects. And every time they went out, these objects were gone. There was one report by a Dr. Kevin Randall that said it seemed that every time the firefighters showed up, all the uncorrelated blips disappeared from the radar. In other words, all the UFOs went away. And the moment the fighters returned to the base, the UFOs came back. This work It's important because for some reason, here again we have evidence of UFOs long before we had satellites in space, long before the trash that we have now, because there's thousands of satellites around the planet right now. But long before we had that, when it was a clean space, when it was just wonderful, and you could see every damn star in the Milky Way galaxy if you wanted to on a nice night. Guess what? There were UFOs. UFOs, which, according to the research by the good doctor and the folks that helped her actually, because she's always quick to say, "Listen, I didn't do this by myself." She didn't. It's a crew. There are and have been UFOs in our skies around our planet for a very long time. Unfortunately for Dr. Menzel, he could only destroy the Harvard documents. He could only destroy the plates that were there. He could only stop that program from taking images. He wasn't able to effectualize his, I don't know, what would you say, his mission to stop the world from knowing that these were not natural situations. This wasn't something that Mother Nature put together. These aren't low orbit UFOs that Mother Nature decided to put out there with the swamp gas. This is real. If you take the Virginia situation just on its own, I mean, there's a lot of UFO situations out there, a lot of abductees, a lot of stories. But if you take something like the Travis Walton story, let's just forget about Virginia for a second. Travis Walton story. I mean, take that. Then take this bit of evidence. Can you really say that UFOs don't exist? You can't. We have proof that they were here way before we were advanced enough to do anything about it. Not that we can now. I mean, come on. We're still a little bit smarter than some hairy apes, but not all of them. There is a situation here, and there is a cover-up that is phenomenal. And the media is helping keeping this on lockdown. I mean, Dr. Villarreal and everybody else on the helped her do this paper should be on every newspaper. They should be on every publication. They should be doing interviews. They should be in front of Congress. That's what it should be. She should be there. I mean, who knows if she's going to be there or not? In front of the National Press Club on the 20th. On part 2, info about the America. That's where she should be. In the description for you all, I included an article that she recently wrote on the Liberation Times. You should read it. Check it out. I mean, it's not a scientific paper, but if you feel froggy and your brain is like accelerating, working on an atomic level, quantum computing, then I've also included links to her 2 papers regarding the transient artifacts on those plates. Peer-reviewed. You always hear folks that are detractors of the phenomena say, that's why I think old scientists, that's how they speak. This is peer-reviewed documents that discuss the results and that show the transient activity. Now, I'm sure eventually one day this is going to have to spread out to other countries that have been doing this type of work back in the past. And there's got to be a way to compare it all. I mean, shit, we got supercomputers, right? Let's get them all together and figure this out. That's all I had for you. It's a lot to think about. I think everyone just needs to sit back and say, well, for shits and giggles, this might be real. This might be a real situation. Those people are not crazy. They're not nuts. They're not wackos. We've been dealing with UFOs since before we had the spark in our mind to send up a satellite. Thank you for listening. Thank you for stopping by. I will curse a little bit less, maybe less F-bombs. I think that person might have been taken back a bit by the F-bombs. I don't know. But I'll do my best. But I want you guys to keep coming back because we're taking this trip together. Eventually, I'll have a live episode where everyone can chime in with their perspective on all this madness as I used to do in the past. I'm still trying to get my bearings again. But I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And this is where I hit the end button, but it never works out right because that's the way it is. So ciao, bye-bye, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.
Thank you for stopping by.
Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.
Stick around and check out another episode.